Good evening, parents, and welcome to the Boiling Point. This is Mariana, and we are getting ready to go into the West Shore School District meeting. Today, they will be discussing policy resource library 109. Basically, it's going to be the policy to protect our children from the material that has been entering in our schools. Okay, as you remember, in June, Christy went to the school board meeting and she read a whole bunch of, you know, graphic novels, which we call pornographic novels, that are available in the library of the West Shore School District. So, because of the outcry of the parents, okay, we've been requesting for a library policy. Well, they have written one, and today they should be voting to approve the policy. I read the policy. It is a pretty good policy. And the thing that I like most about it is that, I've been complaining about there not being a catalog system for the books that are donated. Okay, that's how a lot of this pornography is getting into our schools. So they did include a clause for that, and hopefully they will include a decency clause also. This is something that has been way overdue in the West Shore School District. When I came into the fight, as you guys know, I did find some graphic novels, pornographic novels in the West Shore School District. Brian Guys White was the president, and of course, Stastos was still the administrator at that point also. They deny, but lo and behold, the proof is in the pudding, is it not? So let's try to see if this meeting has started. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I do not think it has started, but let me take a double look here. So while we are waiting for this meeting to start, I do want to take a moment to ask everybody to pray for the family of Charlie Kirk. As we saw, he was assassinated yesterday. It was a very sad time, and it is a very sad time for our country, but it does say a lot about the culture and political and spiritual condition of the United States of America. So keep that family in prayer. We will be here at the Boiling Point having a podcast to honor Charlie Kirk, to honor his work, his legacy. Okay, that was a man of righteousness that was taken way too early from us. So tune in this weekend when we will be having a podcast in memory of Charlie Kirk. So it seems that JD is about to enter the studio. Fantastic. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
Hello. I'm just.
Can
Oh,
you
you already
hear
have
me?
it. Do you already have the?
Hi.
Oh, you already have the
Yeah,
meeting going.
Yes, I'm waiting. Correct. I'm waiting for the meeting to actually start. And I was
Okay.
letting our followers know that we will be having a special podcast this weekend in honor of Charlie Kirk.
Yes, absolutely, we will.
Hi, Liam. That's my buddy.
Yep, this is my nephew Liam. Are you alive? Yeah, we are live right now. There's people watching. Say hi.
How you
Hi,
doing,
Mariana.
Liam?
Good. I missed you.
Hi. Thank. I miss you too.
I'm Stitch. My name is
Are
Liam.
you
I'm
doing good in school?
You're
green.
10.
Hi,
I thought your
my
favorite color
name
was
is
blue.
Hi, my name is Liam. My number is 10.
I thought your favorite color was
Goodbye,
blue.
pet. My name's Stitch.
Another showman, no doubt. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Mariana.
Okay. So, parents, as we wait, I also want to let you know that many parents today have problems in getting their emails through to the West Shore School District in time Okay, so if you had any issues with the West Shore School District emails, please reach out to the board and let them know that your emails were being bounced back as blocked.
Yes, and you can also send them to us, and we'll read them on the air at the end of the meeting. And yes, Mariana, Saturday we're going to put together an episode, honoring Charlie Kirk, as you said. So look for that Saturday, and I'm going to let Mariana take over and run this. She's going to be here for the watch along. I'm going to join her for the after show after the meeting is over. So I'm just going to step out now, Mariana. Oh man, we lost everything. Nope. So we lost her. So I'm going to get it going here on mine. Give me 1 second here. Okay, hopefully Mariana will be back here momentarily. The meeting should be starting. They're actually running late at this point again, but they should be starting any minute also.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Mariana, you're back.
I am back. It was the craziest thing. It's just threw me off.
Sometimes that's occasionally it happens with StreamYard. All right, I have the live stream going now,
Wonderful.
and the sound is on. I want to make sure. Yep, the sound is on. The volume is up. So I'm going to hop out and let you handle the watch along, and then I'll be back before the meeting is over and to join you for some post game or whatever.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mariana, for taking care of this. And stay tuned to the Boiling Point podcast all weekend long. We also have the special Halloween debate episode coming out tomorrow between me and Casey.
Oh yeah, that should be a fun one.
All right. I will return, Mariana. It's all you.
All right. So here I am, guys. Again. So what I was stating before I got kicked out from the system is that you know how you have to send your comments if you're not going to go in person to our board secretary. We don't know what was happening, but a lot of the parents that were trying to get their emails through in favor, okay, of this policy, were coming across that their emails were being bounced back as though their email addresses were blocked. Okay. Now, one parent tried to finagle her email and she changed certain keywords. So, for whatever reason, they have blocked certain words. So, if you send an email with certain words like sex, gender, sexualization, graphic novels, things in that nature, that email, when it hits the server, it's going to be bounced back as blocked, not because the email address itself is blocked, but because they set up certain filters. And this is the first time that this has happened, okay? They have set up certain filters. The administration has set up certain words, certain keywords that would make the email bounce back. Now, if you listen to the words that I just used, okay? These are words that many of the conservative parents use in their emails to express their concern about certain materials. So I find it kind of ironic that these filters are in place to block those words, because that would mean that more of the emails of the left will go through, okay, the server, and the ones from the conservative parents were blocked. And this is something that needs to be investigated, something that parents are going to need to speak about and bring to their attention, because we cannot continue to be further silenced. We have been silenced enough with the previous administration. Okay, I mean, the previous presidency of the school district, and with the current administration, which was also the previous administration. So, anyway, we have been silenced in the past enough to have to face that now with something as a simple email. So, if I say I am concerned about the sexualization, okay, in this book, they're gonna go ahead and bounce it back. But the meeting has started, so let's pay attention.
Welcome to the September 11th, 2025 Board of School Directors meeting. The West Shore School District is committed to fostering a secure and welcoming environment in our schools that encourages participation from students, parents, educators, staff, and our community. I call this meeting to order. Prior to tonight's public meeting, an executive session took place where confidential personnel and student-related issues were discussed. Dr. Argyle?
Mr. Britton. Here. Mrs. Tierney. Present. Mr. Geiswhite. Present. Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Brent.
Here.
Mr. Cambick.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Cox.
Present.
Mr. Trone.
Present.
8 members present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for another 15 seconds for a moment of silence for the September 11th victims.
So I want you to see that the clown circus is out, guys.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In case I wasn't clear, the moment of silence is because it is September 11th, and some of us were alive and that day, and it's just a horrible anniversary, I think, for everyone. Also, I would like to make mention and keep in your thoughts the Evergreen High School 2 students in Colorado yesterday who were shot at school. And then lastly, a visionary, a peacemaker, a diplomat, a strategic planner, a CEO, an evangelist, a son, a husband, a father. The voice of a generation was assassinated yesterday afternoon because he dared to speak. He dared to be courageous. Charlie Kirk was a passionate defender of the core American principles: faith, freedom, and individual responsibility. He inspired countless young people to boldly love their country and fully invest in its future. He instilled courage and patriotism in Gen Z's students, urging them to speak the truth even in the face of hostility from professors and peers. His message was unwavering: speak the truth. His commitment to liberty and the Constitution made him a true patriot. We honor his legacy by standing firm in the values that he championed. May we carry forward his legacy by speaking boldly, standing firm in truth, and never allowing our voices to be silenced. Thank you for that indulgence. Recognition of the board. Are there any shout outs this evening? Mr. Cambick.
I got a email from a constituent about a particular tree at Hillside, and it was in bad shape. It was going to fall over. I passed the information to Mr. Sanders, and Mr. Glantz, and I want to publicly thank them for taking care of what I deemed was a tree that was becoming dangerous. And I want to give a shout out to a little 4-year-old who told me she was writing a letter to the school board because she wanted her Gaga pit back. So I want to thank the administration for the new Gaga pit at Hillside. They replaced the one that was destroyed in an accident during the summer. So he made a little 4-year-old girl very happy.
Mr. Brinton.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple shout outs tonight. The first one is to Lower Allen Township, who will celebrate its 175th anniversary on Saturday, October 4th at the Lisburn Community Fire Company from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come out and celebrate the history of the township, learn about services offered, enjoy live music, and partake in free games and activities. There will be giveaways and good food to be had. My second one tonight is to former Redland baseball standout, Danny Schaefer, who had his book Keep Digging published earlier this summer. Danny graduated in 1979, played in the College World Series for Clemson in 1980, and was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in January of 1981. He played nearly 400 games in the majors with 3 teams before retiring. He's had a very successful run as a minor league manager and an instructor. Schaefer, before playing for the Redland High School, was a member of the Redland Little League team, which won the state championship in 1974. My third shout out goes to Redland field hockey player Izzy Hockenberry, who has verbally committed to further her academic and athletic careers at Princeton. Izzy was named as one of the Max Field Hockey Top 150, which consists of players from all across the United States. Additionally, she made the top 50 for the class of 2027. During last season as a sophomore, she was named a 2024 2A First Team All-Star player. My fourth is to Redland High School, who for the 3rd year in a row was named by U.S. News and World Report one of the best high schools in America. Redland ranked 177th in the state, and that puts it in the top 25% of high schools in the country. And my last shout out tonight goes to the month of September. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and yesterday was World Suicide Prevention Day. It's always okay to reach out for support. Remember, you're never alone. For help, call, text, or chat to 988. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any other shout outs? Mrs. Tierney?
At last month's meeting, I was invited to finally, the word had been revealed about who received educator innovation grants. And I was encouraged to identify them, but I had my eyes dilated and couldn't read a thing at that meeting. So tonight, my eyes are working, and I can tell you who the wonderful shouting out for the educators who received educator innovation grants. And the first is a low vision simulation kit experience, and that is a district-wide initiative by Carrie Livingston. The second is Connections, Linking Learning, Design, and Discovery. That is Kristen Stahl, Lana Lammer, and that's Fairview and Old Trail. The third is Flex Space, and that is Emily Thank you. Appreciate that. At Newberry. Makers in Motion, Expanding Creative Horizons. That's Janelle Bingaman and Carrie Barnes, and that's Washington Heights. I'm just trying to be sure that that was that one. It is Family Folk Dancing Initiative. This one's very exciting, and anyone that's coming to the foundation gala will get to see this up close and personal. So the Family Folk Dance Initiative is K-4 music departments throughout the district, and that's Kate Bright, Abby Gable, Aria Garling, Marianne Galanti, Odison. The next is Take Two, Expanding Redlands Morning News, and that is Chris Champion at Redland. The next one is Personalized Math in CAP, and that's Megan Noggle and the CAP teachers, and that is our CAP program. The next is someone who is not new to this program, and that's Next Level Propagation by Justin Weaver, who always is incredibly creative in his grant applications, which we appreciate. And that's Aquaponics program and Cedar Cliff. Just see, we have two funding sources, so I want to be sure I'm coming from the right place. Sensory Stations was Danielle Batters, Michelle Brymesser, and Katie Deal, and that is Highland Elementary School. Just double check this one. From Imagination to Innovation is Lana Lammer at Crossroads and Old Trail. A self-regulation classroom cruiser, that is Janelle Fazzolari. Thank you. And that is Hillside. And when you sit down and read through these applications, you get a lot of detail about them. And I'm happy to provide more detail to anybody. The West Shore Foundation and the district in pictures on opening day gave a little detail about them underneath. But that was a really fun one to read about. Playground enhancements for Ross Moyne, and that's Mia. Let me just double check that was, yep. Mia Bearfield, Michelle Maxwell, Lacey Balmer, Shannon Spielman, and Nina Lauver. And that is Ross Moyne. West Shore Student Specialists Program Collaboration, and that's Mark Miller and Ryan Maxwell. That is district-wide. Patriot Pages and Projects, and that is Angela Kaufman at Redland. Smart Stats, Empowering Kindergarten Classrooms with Interactive Technology, and that is Jessica Pines and Katie McCarty, and that's Newberry. And we have sure that's from this one, yep. We have a claw machine at Red Mill that is part of their PBIS program. And those grants were funded either in full or in part by the Educator Innovation Grants. And those are funded simply through the West Shore Foundation. The total of those were $19,527.79. In addition, grants that came in through that process, so teachers, as a result of their dreams, apply, and we try to maximize to the greatest ability, satisfying teachers and their dreams. So Dr. Argott sits on the allocations committee for the foundation, and there is other money that sometimes we can access, whether that's federal money, Title IV to be specific, or our statewide adequacy money, in the amount of $8,300. Those programs were Ross Moyne Around the World by Jennifer Wharton, and that is Ross Moyne. I'm not going to do that one again. Oh, well, I will. So the Connections one that I spoke about at Fairview and Otis received partial funding through that. Advanced Wellness 2, and that is Tom Deaver at West Shore Academy and Redland, exactly. Challenge 24 math competition, and that is Dan Greta. Dean Reed and Allison Freeman, and that's all of grades 4 to 8 math. And for anyone who has never watched the kids play a Challenge 24 math competition, it's exciting and fun. And it's more than rote memorization. It really makes them live math, which is really fun to see. Stories podcast, and that's Tom Deaver and Redland and West Shore Academy. After School Book Club. That is Janelle Bingaman, Lauren Daly, Jillian Wilt, and that is Fairview. And Integrated Pest Management, and that is Christina Burrows at Cedar Cliff. And we'll be actually very anxious to tell you more about that one because it's an interesting project. So some of the other ones that were partially funded were the Personalized Math at CAP, Next Level Propagation, From Imagination to Innovation. West Shore Student Specialists also received, they were either West Shore or also the adequacy funds. The total amount that went to letting teachers dream and beyond the budget was $27,828. So hats off to all the teachers or anyone else in the staff that thought, what would I love to do? And hats off to the foundation and to the district for its role in making those things happen. So that is one. And the other, we don't have board reports on tonight, so I'm just going to steal a moment at this time because of where we are in the year. Since we just talked about giving money away, I'm going to flip the coin and we have to talk about bringing money in. And this year's gala for the West Shore Foundation, where we earn a lot of the money to be able to turn around and send back out to the schools, is Light Up the Night. It is October 18th, and it starts from 5 to 6. There's a VIP reception. 6 to 10 is the event. The event includes entertainment and dinner and dancing and a silent auction and student presentations. And this one is especially interesting. Every year we honor an alumni. And I'm really pleased to say that this year's alumni has particular relevance to today. He is a lighting engineer who went to Cedar Cliff, who has done projects all over the world. One of the ones on his resume are the lights at the memorial lights at where the Twin Towers stood. So I'm really anxious to hear what he has to say, and that is why we're lighting up the night. So hats off to our alumni and to all of you who can either buy tickets or sponsor or offer an auction item for that event so we can raise a lot of money to drive back out to our schools. I can answer questions as to how to do that, or you can go to westshore.foundation.org and there's all the information you need to purchase tickets or sponsor. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anything else? Okay, great. Mr. Trone.
Thank you. Just really quickly, I wanted to give a shout out to the seniors in the West Shore Marching Band. Saturday was their senior recognition, and they played their instruments beautifully, and they moved so fluidly, and somehow they did both simultaneously, which is unfathomable to me. So to all of the seniors in the West Shore Marching Band, kudos, congratulations on your accomplishments.
Dr. Stoltz.
Mrs. Brent, thank you very much. Two brief ones. A big shout out to our students, staff, and families for an incredible start to the school year. Today is day 11. Feels like day 111 for me, but day 11. From the excitement in our classrooms to the teamwork on our buses and playgrounds, the past 2 weeks have been filled with energy, learning, and community spirit. Thank you, everyone, for making the start of this year so positive. On a final note, 564 children, 147 staff members, and 9 dogs were featured in our 8th annual First Day of School video. So you may find those on the district website and the Facebook page. We're glad that everyone who participated has chosen to live, work, and raise a family here and learn in West Shore. Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, I'm going to move this forward a minute. Policy 109. We are going to table that policy. It has a little bit more work to do, and you'll be seeing that in October. Okay. Recognition of the public. Public comment provides an opportunity for our community to address the board. Each speaker will be allotted 4 minutes. The board will listen to comments from individuals who have filled out a blue form. To maintain order and respect throughout the evening, I ask everyone present conduct themselves respectfully and to show consideration for those who are speaking. First, we have an opportunity for students to speak on business items. Dr. Argot.
There are none where I recognize them as students.
Okay. And public comments for business items only. Dr. Argot.
We have a number that were submitted electronically, and we have a number in person. Do you have a preference?
Electronically first, please.
Okay. Kelly Pennypacker expressed support for revisions to Board Policy 109 in comments delayed by technology before last month's meeting, and then again for this month's meeting. These comments were, of course, shared with the board. Joseph Buska expressed opposition to revising Board Policy 109. Nicolette Beyer encouraged the board to think about potential lawsuits from Board Policy 109. Jennifer Klein does not support the proposed changes to Board Policy 109. Heidi Collington advocates against proposed changes to Board Policy 109. Carol Glasgow expressed concerns about censorship by the board. Jeff Harmon shared opposition to Board Policy 109 revisions. Christy Harmon and Sean Spangler expressed their support for changes to Board Policy 109. Sherry Harmon expressed opposition to Board Policy 109. Dave Klein expressed opposition to revising Board Policy 109. Brady Kutz shared opposition to Board Policy 109 revisions. Matt Kutz shared concern about lack of transparency in revision to Board Policy 109 revisions. Mary Henninger Voss expressed concerns about proposed revisions to Board Policy 109. Greg Loring Albright expressed his frustration about proposed revisions to Board Policy 109. Victoria Madden expressed questions and shared concerns about Board Policy 109. She also expressed concerns about the reasons behind a delay in finalizing a right to know response. Frank Miles advocated against the proposed changes to Board Policy 109. Sean Muchler expressed his opposition to Board Policy 109, citing censorship and potential lawsuits. Carrie Pinson shared concerns about revisions to Board Policy 109. Casey and Mariana Reed advocated for approving changes to Board Policy 109. Allison Schoner opposes current revisions to Board Policy 109. Eric Schoner opposes current revisions to Board Policy 109. Krista Sellers shared support for Board Policy 109 and removing pornographic materials from the library. Lisa Temple asked for a delay in the adoption of Board Policy 109. Becky Traub asked the board to reject proposed revisions to Board Policy 109. Martha Uber expressed concerns for voting on Board Policy 109. Catherine Wirtz advocated against revisions to Board Policy 109. Dave Wilson expressed concerns about the need for revising Board Policy 109. Christy Wolf Maloney expressed concerns about the implementation of proposed revisions in Board Policy 109. All of these were submitted by the noon deadline and shared with the Board Policy Committee, or sorry, the board.
Yes.
We have some in-person ones.
Joey Askey? Joey Beaver? I can't, are you a last name Beaver?
I go by my maiden name.
Okay.
Not to be crude, but I do work with emotional support middle schoolers, and if I used my husband's last name, I'd never live it down. And I'm really proud of my last name. My dad was he didn't graduate from Redland, but I'm really proud of my dad, Jeff. He was an amazing man.
Can you turn your mic on?
Although, oh, sorry. Ironic that you're telling me to turn my mic on.
You know what? That's a true statement.
You know who comes to the board meetings.
Okay. And I was told I had a loud mouth. Geez, apparently not loud enough, or not loud enough for the people at home. But yeah, I'm also proud of my last name. My dad was a really good guy. I miss him tremendously. That being said, another thing my parents instilled in me was a love of reading, and
my relationship to the local library. I wanted to say my comments are revised a little bit since you decided to table this and work on 109 a little bit more. I did want to say thank you for doing that. That's what I was going to come up and urge you to do anyway. I have listened to a number of the policy meetings. I was in person for at least one. And even though there was some disagreement, I didn't think the work was necessarily bad. There was really good discussion happening between Dr. Stoltz and Mr. Gay, and specifically Mrs. Davis. I thought that, you know, you can come to the table with different points of view and still make something really good and really worthwhile for the entire district. That being said, I'm glad that you're working on this, because when I opened the agenda and looked at the policy as it was written, it seemed very different from the one that had been moved around a few weeks ago at the last policy meeting I was at, where it seemed to be the resource materials were moving towards being librarian specific. I know that there seemed to be some agreement with many members of the committee that it would really be opening a can of worms to go more specific into things to do with a classroom library or classroom resources. And that being said, I'd really encourage all of you to Google Nicole Stauffer. She is a Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania teacher that I got the privilege of meeting over the summer in some professional development. She also is a West Shore alumni, even though she graduated from Mechanicsburg. Do not hold that against her. She is still a very well-educated and lovely human being. She became engaged in a legal battle with the school board for which she works because a parent saw a book that was hers, her personal book, in her personal belongings on her desk that they took issue with. They reported her to Children and Youth. She almost lost her job, and she sued the board. She sued the district, and she kept her job. And then the district tried to engage in some more legal silliness, and they lost. She still has her job. Do not open yourselves up to something like that. It's embarrassing and time consuming and financially consuming. If you're going to make a policy, make it be good, make it make sense. And also, that being said, to the topic of free speech, there's no better way to make sure that the generations that this district is educating are free thinkers than by allowing them to have choice in their library as to what they read or what they don't. I'm not saying everything. I think that having a really good policy about what is in the library is beneficial, but the librarians are experts, and the teachers are also just trying to find the best things for their personal resources as well. So please trust our educators and our librarians. They didn't end up in this position by accident, and they want your children to flourish and to grow.
Marvin Bayshore.
I wasn't commenting on anything on the agenda.
Well, then you can't,
So I don't know.
this is business items?
No, it would be a general item. That's what I checked.
Is it supposed to, it got mixed in?
I meant to check general item.
I apologize if I got the wrong order.
Here's this
You get to
paper.
talk afterwards.
Can I see this paper?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk whenever, but
You're here for general. Yeah, sorry about that.
Do you want us to hold on to this?
Please.
Thank you. Danielle Cribben.
You got it right. I appreciate that. I think that we trust the teachers in this district literally with our children's lives. Like, I put my children on the buses and I send them to the schools of the people that have been approved to keep them safe, to be my eyes, my ears when I'm not there. We trust them because they are educated, because most of them have gone above and beyond the education required to have their positions. And I've seen some really wonderful critical thinking come from my children because of these teachers. We trust them with so much because we didn't go to school for those things, because we aren't prepared to make these decisions for our kids. And because we want them to have more of, like, we want them to have a public school experience. We want them to have a purview of things that aren't just ours. We also want them to come from a district that when colleges are looking through applications, they know that those children are getting a balanced education. They know that they're critical thinkers. They know that they're able to discern right from wrong, what is safe and what isn't. We don't want to become one of those districts where you say where you're from and people go, oh. We don't want colleges to be looking at it and going, oh, our kids can graduate with college credits under their belts. And I worry about how much censorship and focusing on the ideals of some people in the district is going to disservice others. It's going to, like, the point of the board is to educate children, is that to make decisions for the best education for the children. And their futures are the most important thing. We can't think for them forever. So we need to make them critical thinkers. And we're not doing that if we're not able to even trust that their teachers are giving them safe information. The fact is, in this day and age, with the media and everything, they are exposed to so many things that you can have those critical conversations at home. If they bring something home that you are concerned about, you can explain to your children why that doesn't align with your ideals and why that's maybe not the best, because otherwise they're going to go out into the world and be exposed to these things, and you haven't had these conversations. And now they don't know what to think. They don't know how to critically think. They're stuck because they never got to develop those abilities. I want my children to be able to come up with their own opinions. They vary greatly from mine in a lot of ways. And I think that's great. And I think that we are doing a huge disservice. And if you want to keep people in the district, charter schools are a problem. And you're going to lose people to other sources and other resources if everything becomes about the ideals and values of some, because you're supposed to represent all of us. And I just think that if you don't want them to have public education, don't send them to the public school. I think we can do better for the kids, and I think we have. We don't want to lose that edge that coming from the West Shore School District gives them.
Julie Estep. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. Danielle Gross.
Hi. So my cousin likes to tell this story, and I am 43, almost 44 years old. When we were 6 and she was reading a Harry, Dick, and Jane book with her mother, and I come in and I go with a huge book hugged to my chest, and I said, oh, Little Women, such a good book. I read it for the 3rd time when we were 6. I read nearly 20,000 pages of school district material where I grew up by the time I was in 5th grade. The first banned book I remember reading was A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich when I was 8, which is about a kid from the inner city who becomes a heroin addict. And I graduated from high school in the 2000s. I have 13 cousins. I am one of only 5 who never ended up with an opioid problem. So clearly, reading about a heroin addict kept me off the smack, I guess. All that reading That is to say that all that reading gave me a solid foundation for life. I am a pretty successful small business owner, a volunteer, Girl Scouts, and in the schools. It gave me a solid foundation to be able to, start studying the Bible and reading the Bible when I was 12, 13 in depth and doing adult Bible studies. I wouldn't have done that if I had not had that literacy ability and that wide range of material under my belt at that time. So clearly, I'm an advocate for reading, and I myself am intending, as my children grow older, to let them read what they want to read, because it is most important to me that they read. I am encouraged by the work in progress on this policy and to see real compromise and real work come out of this committee. That said, there are some issues that do need to be addressed, namely and primarily Mrs. Tierney's suggestion that work be considered as a whole, which is a constitutional foundation of our First Amendment, of which Charlie Kirk was so fond. And certainly you wouldn't want to infringe upon that. The other issues are, I would strongly urge you, and some of these might be things that you need to include in the procedures, but the weeding policy, I would urge that to be transparent, to let the public know what books are weeded and why. That, I would think, would be something that people who are for this policy and those who don't want to see this policy happen would like to see. I think it makes sense, because those who want to see a stricter book policy would like to see that books are being weeded if they are inappropriate. And those who don't want to see books taken out of libraries would like to, ensure that books aren't taken out of the libraries inappropriately. I just urge you to continue to work together and to keep transparency for the public in mind as you continue to work on this policy. Thank you.
Heather Keller. Welcome, Heather.
Hi. Thank you. I'm reserving the bulk of my comments for a later date, but I just wanted to ask that as the policy committee and the board as a whole continues to review and work on policy 109, I know that the administration had indicated that they were going to be working on the challenged materials, procedures, after the policy as a whole was kind of more fleshed out and finished. But I think it would be really beneficial to the community and teachers and parents and just everyone in general if that procedure could be published and put out with the completed policy for review at the same time. Just because I think it would be good for everyone to kind of see what that procedure is and kind of know what we're getting into and know what those expectations are, so that if there are questions or if there are concerns about what exactly we should expect when filling that out, that we can address those. And if something does need to be tweaked, or if there's a question, that can be answered or perhaps looked into further. Thank you.
Terry Mickle.
Good evening. I want to start by thanking you very much for tabling the policy this evening, 109. I really appreciated the work that the committee was doing. I thought that there was some real effort towards compromise and collaboration towards those last dates. But one of the things that I was concerned about was that there was so much push in that timeline that comments from the public weren't being accepted, and they were actually being pushed to later meetings. That says to me that this is a policy that needs more discussion. If you're still discussing it so vigorously that you can't have public comment, then it probably isn't ready for the public. There were a few concerns that I had with that specifically. I feel like we're leaving a population out of stakeholders. We have not brought teachers, librarians, and students into the policy committee to see what their take is on that if we're going to be looking at it fully. The other thing I'll mention what both Heather and Danielle mentioned about the weeding policy. I think that if we want to make sure that we are not broaching into the world of censorship, that we are very clear with what our procedures are for that, so that we have a clear line of saying this is why this text was weeded out. And then I would really love to see an explicit affirmation that teachers are not, that they're going to be able to use personal and supplemental materials. I think about if a teacher encounters an article or, there's an innovative way for them to show math to someone, I would hate to see that it has to go through a series of, through department chairs and principals and to the superintendent before they get to share that math concept with someone because of a policy that's in place. And then the last thing I want to do is, again, acknowledge the effect that this has on our teachers and librarians. These are professionals who spend years in school and professional development so that they're making educationally sound decisions for them. If we don't include them in this discussion, then I feel like we're sidelining their expertise, and I think that's a disservice to our students. So I appreciate you sending it back. I hope you're sending it back to committee to work on that so that there can be additional conversation. Thank you.
Susan Ryder.
Thank you. I appreciate that you tabled the issue that I was going to ask, but I'm going to stick to the script because that's how I work best. So upon reading the amended resource guidelines for the school district, a particular book came to mind. In this book, there is tremendous violence, murder, incest, rape, mass murder, and mutilation. It doesn't seem like a book that should be in a school library, but that book is actually the Bible. And yet within that book, there is much wisdom, guidance to be found for those who call it their own. And I'm one of those people. Whether there are Bibles in the libraries, I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that whether a book should be removed is a very subjective, and it shouldn't be left up to just one or two individuals, but should be done with a strict criteria by a group of diverse people. I have great concerns that within that, I have seen within the policy here, I have seen that the experts, the librarians, the teachers, the principals have been taken out of the equation. I propose that the board table this issue. Thanks for that. And reverse the amendments, removing the professionals and specific criteria for removal of resource material. Removing books from a library is a significant act. Thereby, it should be a public act. Books slated for removal should be voted on by the board, just as incoming resources are approved by the board. Books suggested for banning should get the same scrutiny as incoming curriculum receives. And lastly, we were voted in the top 25% of the schools in the US. We were voted that under the current policy. So we're not doing that bad. So thank you.
Next, we have communications. I would like to start by letting the public know that we have an RFP committee in place for legal services. That committee consists of Mr. Cambick, has agreed to join us, Mr. Brinton, and myself. And now we have a transportation update. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mrs. Brent. A couple of items for the board and general public as far as our transportation operations have been going. I think the first place to start is just a thank you to the bus drivers, the transportation staff. They have been putting in some long days and making things happen to get kids to and from their schools as best we can, given the staffing issues that we are still dealing with. We are not immune to those sort of issues that you are hearing about in the news. We've been fortunate that our folks have been starting their days quite early, putting things together and making things work for our students. Things that we had to, or strategies we had to employ in prior years, such as early dismissals and late arrivals, we have, knock on wood, not so far had to resort to this school year with our students. So a couple of categories to walk through as far as the update on transportation from a staffing standpoint, and that is the primary issue facing transportation. If the staffing problems can be resolved, many of the other issues go along with them. We had a new driver that passed their CDL licensing test, so we have a new driver coming. They passed on the 9th. We have 3 drivers going for road tests in the next week. We have 3 more in classroom training right now. 7 more will start classroom training next week, and 6 are penciled in to start training 2 weeks out. Not all of those get through the entire process. However, that is a promising pipeline of candidates to hopefully convert into drivers. On the van side of things, we have 4 more van drivers starting training in the next week, and that candidate pipeline is, I would describe it as very solid. The thing to remember is that right now our daily operations consume a lot of the time and bandwidth that we have available for the staff that are here. So figuring out those coverages, putting things together, staying on the radio, keeping things moving, trying to communicate with drivers, schools, and all of those things during the school day. Those chunks of time, there's not a lot of productivity in moving the other issues forward while the buses are on the road and kids are riding those vehicles. As far as communications go, Dr. Stoltz did send a message on September 4th, 1 week ago, that had a good bit of detail as far as the transportation process that went out to the community. We are providing, or I am providing weekly updates to the entire admin team. Been doing that every Friday, a weekly update. We are contending with a volume of incoming calls and emails that is more than what we can respond to in the time in which we would like to respond to it. I'll put it that way. However, we are working our way through and grinding through the backlog of items that need to get addressed. Routing and timing is one of the top concerns that is out there. We know that the timing is tight. We are watching that timing. Part of the issue was getting the drivers in. Of course, we have a new contractor. We have a fair amount of new drivers, and even the returning drivers, some of them are on new routes. Those drivers have now gotten acclimated to the routes. We feel like the issues with timing that we are having are due to something with the route itself, the number of kids that are on, those kinds of things, and not an issue where the driver just isn't used to the route yet. We've kind of worked those kinks through. However, making those changes is both disruptive, and we have to be a little bit strategic about it to try and get good communication out. Our goal for this week was to look at that timing, dial in the run times, and attempt to make changes where we could. There are situations where routes are resequenced, and in some cases, we assign students to different vehicles. We move stops between as we try to make something work. Timing changes, just be aware that they can be significant, but they are within the window of time in which a run is operating. So for example, we have a call going out or went out about an hour ago. We moved some things around to improve timing getting to one of our elementary schools. In doing so, we found that what we wanted to do in the afternoon was basically flip some of the stops around on a run. So if you're talking about an elementary, if we were to do that, stops are anywhere between, let's say, 3:45 and 5 o'clock. If you're a 5 o'clock at the very end of the run, or you're a 3:45 and we flip that run on its head, you could be shifting to the other end of that window of time as to when you're getting home if we need to reconfigure sequencing and do routing. Routing changes do happen once a week right now. We are pushing those out on Thursdays along with Power School updates, and we get the new rosters to the driver. Those changes and the ones that I would cite, we had changes with 46 and 60 last week. We put out a call through Blackboard Connect to any families that are affected by that to make them aware that that change is coming and that they should be looking at Power School for their updated information. The last category that I would give you on the update side of things are program enhancements that we are working on. We do have the new camera systems. We got those installed and running prior to school. We had to do a pretty good push. Transportation Committee was involved in that discussion. We did get that done. Roar and district staff both went through training on retrieval of the videos where we've worked through that process. We're going to start working with admin as we start to get some requests for video. We have a process to go through. GPS tracking is part of that updated camera system. We have enhanced GPS information coming in from our vehicles that is on a nicer dashboard that we can look at. So there are things that we can do now, again, with timing that we can see based on GPS exactly when a particular stop happened and start to benchmark that against the timing we have on our routes. That's part of the process we've been working through this week. Our next step, as far as that system goes, is getting the camera system to the next phase where we are turning on and finalizing the stop arm enforcement agreements and getting that system in place. We have some agreements that have come back. They've gone for review. Actually, while we were sitting here, I got the last one back. So next week, we're going to preview the board agenda item, but I'll skip ahead. Now we have the final 3 agreements that we need. Those will be on the agenda for next week. They're not there now, but we'll get them onto the agenda because all of those have gone through all of the approvals and reviews by both our solicitor and solicitors for the municipalities, that we'll get those onto the agenda and be able to move that forward. I did reach out to Bus Patrol to say, hey, we've got some of those agreements moving already and in place, and to start the implementation process so that we can start to be able to actually do the citation through Bus Patrol for any violations that we have of folks running the red lights. So we think that's a big enhancement in safety program. After that, we still have things that we want to look at. We have some phone calls to go through about implementing the turn-by-turn directions. That's the next piece that requires the GPS integration, and it also requires some additional work in our software, but that's where we want to get to. And that will help when you do have a sub-driver covering, that they're not trying to rely on paper or their knowledge of the area. They can have a true GPS integration, like a tablet or a device that will show them where they need to turn and how the bus needs to move. So that's kind of the high level, quick hit update on transportation and where we stand right now.
Thank you. Just a couple quick questions for me. Do we have access to the software that allows the parents to track the bus?
We never had software that allowed the parents to track.
We did talk about that though, and that was something that Roar was going to be working on.
That is a possibility that we can get to. Again, the other items like GPS, we have to get those done and completed before we can even talk about getting to the point that we have parent access.
Okay. So, and then when you said that we flipped the schedules from, what was it, 3:15 to 5 o'clock?
Well, that was an example. Like if we take a route and we flipped it because we had to get a bus to a different location for the next stop. And I'm using an example. If the elementary route had to be flipped around, if the first stop's at 3:45 and the last stop's at 5 and you flip it around, well, now the person that used to be at 5 is now at 3:45 and the person that used to be at 3:45 is at 5.
I think I grasp the concept. I really do. I'm just trying to figure out how the parents are going to juggle all this if they're on a fixed schedule.
Well, I think, again, we're within the window of time for the stops, and we are reconfiguring things to get kids to school. So that is the nature of what we have to do to be able to get students to locations. There are times in which we have students that move into an area in which we do not have a bus. And the only way to get a bus to a student is to reconfigure a route to get the bus to the location to pick up the kid to get to the school when we need to get there.
Okay. David.
I have one question. From the district's perspective, how's our relationship been with Roar? Has there been any concerns on our end about how, as the contract with them is gone?
Well, I'd say this. We're not doing the things that we did last year. We did adopt a new provider, obviously, and that comes with it some level of disruption. I feel like the investment, engagement, and level of support that we've gotten is worlds different from what we had a year ago.
So for more or less, you're happy about the situation as we find ourselves in?
I don't think we could have asked for a partner that would do, I can't think of what more they could have done in getting us to this point, other than pushing some people through the training process a little bit faster. But we knew that was going to be an issue. We know that's a long lag time, and we were out in front of it trying to do events and those kinds of things and recruitment early on in the spring and summer to make sure that we were ready to go for school. And so far, we've been covered on our runs.
Great. Thank you for the information.
And I just add, this is all stuff that we talked about in the transportation committee meeting that we had, 2 weeks ago now. We haven't had an opportunity to discuss those things, but these were all part of that. All these discussions were part of that committee. and we reviewed a lot of this stuff in detail, just like we're doing here. Um, and I think with the recap of that meeting, you'd probably have more information about that. And one thing that I did say, um, as a whole, transportation this year, sure, there's challenges, and sure, we could do some things better. And we talked about those things specifically, what we could do better, and we talked about some strategies on how we can improve. But I would say this: if you look at the central Pennsylvania area and you look at the challenges that all the school districts are facing with transportation right now, from where we are today to where we were last year at this time, and what other people are experiencing today, we have not impacted instructional time significantly because of transportation issues. We haven't had to close schools. We haven't had to have delayed starts. We haven't had to send kids home early. We've got full complement of buses running. Kids are getting to school and from school safely, and we're doing that as efficiently as we can. Now, granted, we might be late some days for whatever reason, but the kids are getting to and from school. So as bad as we think it is, I would say as a whole, generally, I think we're doing 100% better than we were doing last year.
By far, our biggest challenge is the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's where the challenge is.
Real quick, Mr. Sanders, to show what kind of a partner we have at the last transportation meeting, the gentleman who was our local rep from Aurora was here to answer questions.
Mr. Schrantz is the vice president of Aurora. He was present for our meeting, yes.
And he was here for that. Real quick question. I count 20 new drivers basically in that coming into the classroom to people who might be. So we're getting closer to having a full contingent.
That would not only staff all of our routes, that would give us a bit of cushion.
Which is what
we'd
we're-
feel if we got all of those drivers through, we would be in a
which
pretty good
we
spot.
were very far from
we were
last time.
When was the last time you had a cushion?
We've I can't remember having a cushion at all in the years that I've been doing this now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Stoltz.
Thank you. And for what it's worth, going back to when we did the operation, we didn't have a cushion either. We never had a cushion. Right. So not just with the former provider. I just wanted to offer some comment on our partner and from my perspective, because I watch the news like everybody else does. I talk with my colleagues in other places that are struggling. Unfortunately, we were struggling the last 2 years, and now some other folks are struggling. And it's all related to the same thing. It's staffing. But from a provider perspective, Aurora has been a good partner. And as was just mentioned, David came out to the meeting last week and offered comment and is here as a partner. I think they have been responsive. Are there things that we are still working out? Sure. But I think from a driver perspective, lots of things there are a lot of things different this year that people don't necessarily see on the surface. We have drivers that have better morale. The morale among drivers is better. We are not on the edge of losing people to leave because we're doing things like not supporting them with good routes, or we're throwing so many changes at them on such a like 2 or 3 times a week. It's part of the reason why we're doing the updates on Thursdays. I know that creates some delay, but it is a management strategy of keeping the people who are driving the bus comfortable enough to keep doing that. Every week, I think, and again, I'll remind everybody and say it's day 11. Every day, every week has gotten a bit better, and we're tackling this in bites that we can, right? So, one of the goals this week was to say, we know we have buses that don't get to an elementary or an intermediate until 20 minutes after dismissal time. But we had times published in Power School that said, your stop is 3:15, but your child's really not arriving until 3:35. Well, goal this week is to say, can we update 3:15 to 3:35? That way, at least in Power School, you know what time you can expect your child. The secondary goal in that is to say, well, 3:35 is not our time. That's not where we want to be at. because 3:35 leaving from the intermediate, if that bus has to circle back around then and go to an elementary, they're going to be late for the elementary as well. So that's where these changes come, or it's a new student that comes. Folks that live on the southern end of the district, I feel like are more susceptible to having more remote areas, that when a kid shows up in an area, it's the direction the bus is headed, or it's the distance it's got to go, where there's not a turnaround, or it does matter the way the direction of the bus goes. And we recognize that there is an impact. So using the example of the child who had a 4 p.m. stop time drop off now has the 5, that happens. And I understand where the points of frustration are. And our goal will be to say, well, we don't want anybody dropped off at 5 o'clock, whether it's your kid or my kid.
A concrete example, the call that went out tonight was related to a bus that has been getting to Ross Moines at 4:15, 4:20 p.m. Because that's all the faster it could get there. We swapped routes between two different buses, and then flipped one of the routes around, because by flipping it around and changing the configuration, we now had a bus that was in a position to get to Ross Moines at 3:54 instead of 4:20. That's a huge difference for those kids. The people that will be affected are the ones where the route flipped around, and they're going to have they've got different times. Again, it's within the window of when transportation is occurring. And while we understand the impact that can have on families who have looked at a time and said, yep, I know when my kid's coming home, and I know how to arrange my family activities, my work schedules, those things around it. And that changes by 25, 35, 40, 45 minutes. That can be problematic, but it doesn't change the mission that we have and the things that we have to accomplish.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing regarding transportation. And I don't know if we talked about this in the transportation committee, but this time last year, we had formed a transportation committee to deal with the problems of transportation. And as you were talking about morale and bus driver morale. And I'm just thinking, and I don't know if you guys have heard anything different, but last year, this time, one of the largest problems that we were facing as a committee that we made it a point to address over the last year, and I think we have gotten better with, is discipline on the buses. And the discipline was out of control last year, and people were quitting, and that's all we heard about was how awful the discipline on the buses were. I can't think of one complaint that we've received this year on discipline.
That's what that's what I was going to speak to. I just pulled up in Power School. I don't have a single referral related to bus behavior in Power School.
Yet.
Yeah. It's 11 days in, right? We're in a bit of a honeymoon. But I think it is a recognition of several things. The morale of drivers is related to a bunch of things. And the effect of that is people have the energy to greet the kid warmly when they get on the bus, to wish them the best day when they go, to correct behavior appropriately, to not become angry, for the kid to respond appropriately back and forth. We've worked already on the front side with drivers to help them understand the PBIS system so we can reward appropriate behavior and we can correct behavior that's not going well. A lot of things are in place, and I'm really, really appreciative. I'm keeping my fingers crossed this lasts a while. But I really like the structures we have in place. I think it's connected to the larger discussion we're having in our school district amongst our staff and administrators about making sure our kids are safe, seen, and connected, and ensuring that we have processes in place to respond to disruptive behavior, both proactively and reactively. We have to be able to do both. So I think it's a point of celebration. Things are in the right direction. Mr. Sanders gives us a good reminder. We will have challenges as the year goes on. There's no doubt about it. But right now, things are going well, and I think we've done a lot of things to help to give reasons why they're going well.
Can we move on?
Can I just give a brief shout out?
This is the last statement on this.
I promise. Listen, to the people who, to Mrs. Rupp, to Mrs. Dormuth, Mrs. Gonzalez, to Keegan and the team at Roar, to everybody that starts their day probably earlier than most of us, to the people that are staying after school, because after all, Staff need to stay with kids at the end of the day when that bus isn't coming until 4:30, and that's beyond our office staff and beyond our administrative staff. There are teachers, there are counselors, there are people there that are doing that to make sure that kids are well taken care of, they're supervised, and I, it's just a shout out to them and for everything that they do. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that tonight in recognizing people and things that are better this year.
Thank you. Do we have any board reports this evening? You did yours. You did a big board report. Okay. Anything down here? We're good? Okay, no board reports. Next, we have business items. A reminder to please remain quiet as the board deliberates and takes care of meeting business. Mrs. Davis, personnel.
Madam President, I move that we approve the following personnel agenda items. Item 5A1 through item 5A11.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay. Motion passes 8. Oh, sorry. This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise noted. 8-0.
We hired a number of new staff, both professional and support this evening. Are there any new hires present who would like to stand to be recognized by the board? I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the new hires to the West Shore School District.
Madam President, I move that we combine 5B, exoneration of real estate taxes, and 5C, real estate tax refunds.
Can I have a second? Do we have any discussions on B and C?
This is for, who's the person for this? Mrs. Boone. Okay, hello there. This is for exonerations for people who are veterans with, correct?
That is correct, yes. Both of them are Veterans Affairs exemptions.
And both of them deal with the same thing. So it's fantastic that,
Correct.
we do have I don't know, it's what, a statewide program or?
Yes, it's statewide.
That's great. We have a kind of program to help veterans.
Actually believe it's a federal
program?
I think so.
All right, thank you.
Okay. This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise noted. 8-0.
Madam President, I move also that we take 5D, 5E, and 5F for the contract services for Title I, II, and 4A together.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion, Mr. Brinton?
Aye.
You're good. Mrs. Cox?
Mr. Gay, is this you?
Dr. Argot.
Oh, Dr.
Me.
Argot.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, for 5D, the non-public students, there was another attachment that we read that was entitled background PDF
Mm-hmm.
is attached. Do you have that? Can you get to that?
I can get to that. Give me
Because for some people who may not understand what non-public students are, it shed a lot of light on the explanation for this. If you could read it, if you can get to it.
Yeah, I just have to make sure I get to the right meeting.
It was the
accidentally-
second one.
Yeah, I accidentally went into next week's meeting.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But I believe it will get, it's better inform everybody about what the non-public students are.
All right, the background PDF. You want me to read the whole thing?
It's,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
please.
And I will say that it's similar for Titles 2 and 4,
Yes.
but the rules are slightly different. So here we go. The West Shore School District is required to provide Title I services for non-public school students attending El Huda, Harrisburg Catholic, Holy Name of Jesus, St. Joseph, and St. Teresa for the 25-26 school year using pass-through dollars from the federal government. In order to best meet the needs of these students, the West Shore School District has joined the Capital Area Intermediate Unit Consortium for Title I non-public schools. The CAIU will provide instructional services by certified reading specialists to students demonstrating the greatest need who are attending these 5 schools. The contract also provides for the district's responsibilities to ensure appropriate parental involvement and summer learning opportunities for the non-public schools. The CAU will provide the Office of Federal Programs, me, all data necessary for the West Shore School District to complete its Title I responsibilities. The compensation to be provided to the CAU from the West Shore School District's Title I funds is reference-based to the average per pupil cost times the number of pupils generating revenue. The amount of Title I public services in the prior school year was $28,360. The amount of this agreement for the 25-26 school year is $23,337. This figure includes the 7.5 administrative fee that the IU will take from those services.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, Title II and Title IV are similar. The list of schools change and the substance of the program changes based on the rules of those federal grants.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mrs. Cox.
Yeah.
If Mr. Vogelsong refreshes the page, I just opened that up so that the public can access
Okay.
that after the fact.
Thank you.
There's not really any.
No, it's more detail than we usually
it's more
provide,
detail.
but it's a fair question.
It was great information.
Yep.
To describe non-public students. A lot of people may not know what a non-public student is.
And the reason we do that is that they don't have the resources to have a reading specialist there at some of these schools. And we're partnering with the IU to help supply that. We get reimbursed for it.
Sort of. All title funds.
It's been about 50 years since my foundations class.
Yeah.
But
All title funds are considered supplemental funds, and they travel with the student. If they're one of our students in attendance at a non-public school, they're still our student. That's the revenue generating student.
Okay.
For Title I, it doesn't matter where the children go to school. That's where our responsibility is. For Titles II and IV, it matters where the school is. So the schools that are in the district boundary are those that we have to consult with.
Okay. Again, that's part of the explanation. Mrs. Cox is very intelligent to help, explain to everybody what this is and non-public students. So thank you very much for the information.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? Okay. This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise noted. Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And Madam President, I move that we take 5G, 5H, and 5I together.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or discussion for Mr. Gay? David?
Mr. Gay, just real quick on item I, the Yellow Breaches Agreement. It's my understanding we have 12 slots at $34,144 per slot, which would make this line item a total of $409,728. Does that sound correct?
That number might be correct, but we have additional costs because Yellow Breaches provides transportation services. So the contract cost for 25-26 is $502,476. That includes transportation costs. The district has purchased 12 seats at Yellow Breaches. We received 1 incentive slot at no charge, so we were able to place 13 students there during the 25-26 school year. To start the school year, we have 11 students placed at Yellow Breaches. We purchased the seats for the whole year. We don't refund on them. Our anticipation is we'll end up filling all the seats.
Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion on G, H, or I? Okay, this will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be voted as recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise noted. Motion passes 8-0. Next, we have social studies resource adoption.
Thank you, ma'am. Process for reviewing the following resources to support instruction has been completed. The items have been on public display on the back table for 30 days. The three resources are Ben's Guide to the U.S. Government. It's a digital resource. The Rendell Center for Civics and Civics Engagement, a digital resource, and Core Knowledge, a digital resource. These are all intended at this point to be used at our intermediate level. We recommend the Board of School Directors approves these resources.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any discussion or questions for Mr. Gay? Mrs. Cox?
Yeah, I'm curious, the book Core Knowledge, because I took a look at it online and everything. Is this going to be used for a civics class?
For social studies curriculum at the intermediate level. So to help with the instruction of civics, if we find it appropriate for other grade levels, that's what we would use it
So you're
for.
talking fifth
Five and six, five and
grade.
six social studies, 5 and 6th grade social studies. The three tools together are what they want to use for that. And they, just to be clear, none of them are books. They're all digital resources, websites that we can access.
Because I was looking at that book and or that resource, and I had some questions.
These were recommended by the teachers who teach 5th and 6th grade social studies. They're resources that they've vetted, reviewed, and determined that they would meet their needs.
Okay.
You sure? You sure? Is there any further discussion? This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise noted. Motion passes 8-0. Next, we have 5K, which has been tabled, as mentioned before.
Madam
Then,
President, you should have a vote to table it.
oh, okay. Thank you.
A second.
Do we have any discussion about the tabling of this item? We did talk about it at length. Okay. This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members would be recorded as voting in favor unless otherwise. The motion passes 8-0, and that is tabled. Okay. And 5L, new board policy 815.1, artificial intelligence.
The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approves new board policy 815, artificial intelligence.
Do I have a motion?
I just have questions.
I need a motion and a second first.
So moved.
Second. David?
Yeah, I just have two quick questions on some language that's in the policy. The one is under illegal use of AI. It says shall be reported to the appropriate legal authorities for possible prosecution. Is there any discretion with regard to that? If a kid unknowingly does something, are we going to report them right to the police? I mean, I just have
We'd be in a hard place to write a policy that says we're not going to follow legal requirements.
okay. So there's inability to use any discretion, correct? Basically what you're telling me.
What he said is right.
I think the discretion, excuse me, the discretion, if I'm understanding you correctly, the discretion wouldn't be in the reporting or our obligation to report. I think the discretion would come on the other side of what happens as a result of that, right? Because I'm immediately thinking of what are the things that get reported to legal authorities? Nudity, pornographic, images and things like that that could be created. We've seen the deep fakes and those kinds of things that have come up. Our obligation is going to be to report that. And then if there's some discretion to be applied on the other side of that, I would think that's through, the legal system or how you might handle that from a school disciplinary perspective.
Okay. As an old fossil, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I just worry about kids who are playing around with it. And the other thing that concerned me a little bit is the language that says policy shall also apply to student conduct that occurs off school property or during non-school hours to the same extent as provided in board policy or student code of conduct. Could you expound on that a little bit?
I can some if students are using our resources and our tools, whether they're at home or at school. And those
like their iPad?
well, I'm talking about AI tools, right?
Oh,
AI tools.
that would be
artificial
on their
intelligence tools
iPad.
that we would provide them
Yeah.
access to, whether on the iPad or through any subscription model. If they were to misuse that or, misbehave with that in a way that would be disruptive to the school environment, it would be illegal, we would follow through with consequence.
Thank you for the clarification.
And just further clarification, I wouldn't tie that at all to a district issued device. Kid could do that on your computer. And if it creates a scenario where it's a threatening, it's an unsafe, it affects the operation of the safe and efficient operation of the school, we're going to take action on that either way, regardless of the device that a kid would use to do it, or the where that it actually happens, or when. So for example, if a student used AI to make a threat that caused us to cancel school the next day, right? That is an event that would have a significant effect on our safe and efficient operation of school. We don't really care how that originated. We would take action on that.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, David. Any further? Okay. Okay. This will be conducted as a roll call vote. All members will be voted as recording in favor unless otherwise noted. Motion passes 8-0. Information items. Dr. Stolz?
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to get to the next week meeting. I apologize.
It's okay.
All right, at this point in looking at next week's agenda, under the business items, we will have personnel again, our standard monthly items like bills for approval. Of course, it's not a business item, but the treasurer's report will be reviewed by Mrs. Boone. Staff attendance at professional meetings will also be on next week's agenda. You will see 3 student activity trips. 3 of them are related to music. The first 2 rather, there is a percussion group that is looking to travel out to the WGI championships. And I do not remember what WGI stands for off the top of my head, but these championships are in Dayton, Ohio. Our schools have participated in this over the last several years. Color Guard will also be going out to Dayton, Ohio to participate in their WGI championships. And I believe it's March or April timeframe. The other one is, it is that time again for the band and the music department to go to Disney World. So you'll see that trip request coming through. Under facilities, I'll ask Mr. Sanders to speak to a geotechnical testing services agreement that we have on for next week.
Thank you. We do have an agreement up for geotechnical testing. That testing is with Hillis Carnes. We did have the solicitor review. I'm waiting to get comments back from Hillis Carnes on some revisions that we had, but this is going to do additional testing at the Allen Middle School site. What that's going to do is give us additional information on the composition of the materials underneath the surface, also known as rock, that we're going to have to be able to potentially drill, blast, do those kinds of things to move the dirt around. That will gather us additional information that we can provide to the contractors when we get to bid day.
For folks who may be looking for more information about that, that item was discussed yesterday at the Facilities Committee meeting. So if you ever wanted to know if we have sinkholes and where we have them, you could next week I'll have a quiz for you on that. But one other business item is a Dacio lease agreement. Dacio, it will be a lease agreement for copiers. As we have shared with the board, we have over the years, we have had a print shop here at this building and have done a lot of that internally over the number of years. But as people retire or people move on, it has become more difficult to keep that operation in-house. So we have been slowly moving to put more machines into buildings so that copies can be done there, reduce printers in the process, and then also outsource some of those bigger jobs. We've been using Messiah Press, who's been doing a nice job in that for us. Then the other thing, as Mr. Sanders referenced, we will have I believe we'll have the last of the intergovernmental agreements for bus patrol that'll be coming forward. Those are the items that we have today. As always, we have a number of agreements that are out that pending legal review, you could see that you could see a couple of things coming back here yet.
David.
Winter Guard International.
There you go. That's it.
Perfect. Okay, next we have recognition of the public for general items. I don't see any new faces from earlier today, so. What's that? I got it. So you have 4 minutes. Be nice. I think that covers it.
We have no electronic submissions. You have one and I have some.
Okay. Oh, are you kidding?
First one has a bunch of
Okay. Marvin Bayshore.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the board. The timing is right, I guess. On April 2nd, I filed a right-to-know request for copies of the depositions of board member testimony in the Sunshine Act litigation. When I made that request, as an attorney, I knew that the documents were not the exclusive private property of the district, and the district did not have the power to keep them out of the public domain. I knew this to be the case because depositions are testimony taken in legal proceedings in our system in which the courthouse doors are open and legal proceedings are public matters. Consequently, my request provided the board with the opportunity to decide whether to be transparent on an upfront basis or whether to expend public effort and funds engaging in a predictably unsuccessful attempt to keep the deposition testimony of board members out of the public's view. Given that choice, the board majority chose to reject my request and expend public funds engaging its solicitor and its special counsel to fight my appeal to the Pennsylvania Office of Open Records. In opposing my appeal, the board was apparently advised by its counsel or special counsel that if special counsel kept his copies of the depositions in his files and didn't distribute them, the Office of Open Records would not require him to provide the copies to me, and the right to know request could be dodged. That dodge was successful, with the Office of Open Records denying my appeal. However, because the documents are publicly available documents, those depositions are now posted or will be posted very shortly on the website of West Shore Unified, and they'll be available to the public. So what's the moral to the story? If the board was not advised by its counsel up front that depositions would become public regardless of whether the board didn't want them to, the RFP process, which you agreed to in opening the solicitorship position, was obviously an appropriate move. If, on the other hand, the board was correctly advised by its counsel that the documents were going to be made public in the end, regardless of whether the board majority resisted making them public, then the board's decision to fight the release of the deposition reveals what is in essence a contempt for the public's right to know the board member's testimony. It demonstrates a lack a committed lack of transparency on the part of the board majority, and it documents a cavalier willingness to expend public funds for what was a knowingly futile endeavor. Clearly, this saga demonstrates that a change in board leadership is needed, and the community has the chance to make that change in the upcoming November election. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Bowman? Oh, okay. Excuse me, we have a board member who would like to address you, Mr. Bashar.
I actually have no idea what you're talking about. I was never advised by council to not release depositions. And so to lump me in as the majority person to be doing that, I am so sick and tired of being lied about.
Yes.
And you know what? It is public record eventually. I don't care if you know what I said in my deposition. I will tell you to your face what I said in the deposition. But I'm fed up with being lied about and then it being on record. So that I'm going to leave there.
Yes, the buzzword for this season is transparency, everybody. Transparency.
I'm done.
Just so you know.
Depositions will be on the website.
We don't care. We didn't do anything wrong.
I
That
don't
is
even
the
have a
end.
copy of the depositions.
Andrew
so I will-
Bowman, come
I'll
on
go
up.
right to your website and read them myself too.
Sorry, I had to throw something a little bit together because long story. Anyway,
They're gross. It's okay.
So, all right. So I wanted to follow up a bit on my previous public comment about the upcoming bathroom policy that's being looked at. I had a couple studies last time, and I decided to dig more into it. As just a quick aside, because I've been over these before, but two studies. Number one comes from the Williams, which found that shoot, hang on this. Sorry, I had a whole thing and then I left it at my desk. I had one study that showed that when bathroom policies are implemented, the incidence of the crimes they're trying to prevent do not change. There is no significant change. I should use the word significant across the entire student population. There is no significantly discernible change in the rate of sexual assaults, voyeurism, etc. However, that does mostly account for the cisgender, gender-conforming natal sex population.
What is
as
natal sex? I don't know what that means.
Sex you're assigned at birth.
Okay. Just try to keep
I found out that term today through research, and I just thought it was cool. I wanted to throw it in.
Yeah, but you're talking to us knowing that we don't understand the language that you find. Could you talk to the rest of the room like they don't know either?
Anyway, I did find another study from, I believe this is there was a second study that showed that there were higher reported rates of sex vulnerabilities, that students who were forced to use bathrooms of their birth gender, I guess, when they have transitioned, are more likely to be assaulted. And that's something the first study wouldn't find because it's such a small minority that it's hard to see. You have to really pump up the numbers for it to be significant across the entire population. I've submitted two more studies to the board. One comes from the American Psychology Association, who found that the mental health of transgender children who are supporting their identities is not that far different from cisgender children. And I thought this was an important study because one talking point I've seen thrown around all this is that is the idea that transgender individuals have these big problems, or that the suffering that a lot of transgender people go through is a result of mental illness or like some sort of thing wrong with them. Well, this study shows that when they're given the same sort of support, we never really hear about, you never really hear about, like I was never pressured into trying to identify as a woman growing up. If I was, I probably would have a lot of issues. When people who want to transition are allowed to transition socially, their mental health is largely the same as if they were just born the sex they wanted to be. And the second one, I feel the second one goes hand in hand. This one comes from the Journal of Adolescent Health, which found that the mental health of students who are asked to use a bathroom that does not align with their assigned sex, when socially transitioning or otherwise, when they are put in the bathroom that they don't identify with, they have much higher rates of mental health issues, up to and including suicidal ideation. And this kind of goes into a point I've been trying to make this whole time, which is that we're asking a lot of these students, and I keep reading these policies and I'm not seeing any sort of give. It's all take.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
That last piece that you read, it doesn't make sense to me. If you could just read that last little piece again.
So I included it as an attachment, along with also two pictures of
I have all that.
the two pictures of transgender men, because I want to put a point out that are we okay with them using a woman's bathroom if we're not okay with, but that's not even the.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right.
Thank you for coming in. All right, Joseph Gargiulo.
Throw your hands up and say, I can't say this, and I'll help.
I can say it now that I see it. Welcome.
First of all, I would like you all to take a breath. Relax. I'm not here to turn the world around. I am simply here as a grandfather. Some of you know me. I was former principal and district administrator, director of secondary ed before I retired. Thanks to medical technology, I am here to say I have 5 grandchildren. One of them presently attends Washington Heights. She's in 3rd grade. She's had her issues too, but she's doing all right. Tonight at 5:30, I was not planning on coming here. At 5:31, I decided I was coming here. My son-in-law contacted me and told me that he'd received a newsletter that said, from the teacher, very nice lady, by the way, we have chosen not to assign homework each night, but are encouraging students to read the monthly reading calendar with a monthly reading calendar incentive. Now, when my granddaughter at Washington Heights was in 1st grade, she received homework sometimes. She got to 2nd grade, the teacher didn't think that homework was something that 2nd graders should do. Now she's in 3rd grade, and my son-in-law was excited, as was my daughter, because this teacher had said, I'm going to give homework. And now we're not encouraging them to do homework every night. Well, I'm not saying we need to have them do differential calculus. I'm saying that homework for children in 3rd grade is a good practice. It's like t-ball. It gets you ready to hit the ball off the tee, so then you can then hit the ball when it's coming at you. I believe that students, and as an educator, I think I have a right to believe this, students should be assigned homework. I think it gives the parents a connection with the student and the school, because they get to see what the children are doing. Telling a child that I want you to keep track on a monthly reading calendar as to how much you've read at home is only good if the parents are sitting next to them doing this. I know this because when I was a principal at Newberry, I spent a day on the roof because we were able to calculate that the children did 2 million minutes of reading. And I spent it, but it had to be confirmed. The only way you're going to get that to happen is if the parents are actually sitting there next to them watching them read. So why not have the parents sit next to them and watch them do their homework? This is not an earth-shattering idea. I know I'm from the last century, and we gave homework the last century. I bet every single one of you had to do homework. And it's grade level appropriate. Tracing letters in 1st grade, maybe learning your numbers, learning to add a couple of things here and there. In 2nd grade, it gets a little harder. In 3rd grade, you start to do times tables and things like that. Read an analog clock, which I understand is a 3rd grade thing, since most clocks now are digital. So let me just say this. I got this tonight. The order of command in a school district, and I know this, is talk to the teacher. Not satisfied, talk to the principal. If not satisfied, talk to the director of elementary education. And if not satisfied, talk to the superintendent. And if not satisfied, come to the school board. Well, I leapfrogged over all of that. I'm 75 years old. I haven't got that kind of time. I am asking you, I don't know that this is going to be a problem, but I am asking you to be alert to this. If this is a district-wide idea, it is, in a word, stupid. If it is a Washington Heights idea, I understand where teams get together and a team decides something, but this is a poor decision. So I would ask you to keep an eye out. If homework doesn't start coming home, I'm going to be back. Okay? And then maybe you won't be able to take a breath. Okay? Thank you all very much for your time. It's been good to talk to you.
Thank you. Danielle Gross.
Hi, I just wanted to make a few positive comments. My daughter's at Old Trail, and she noted that Mike Cox came and did the Character Strong speech for them. He talked about respect. What she took from it was he talked about doing things that you don't always want to do. So now she signed up for like every single activity possible, which is great. She'll be fine. But maybe he can come back sometime and talk about, getting really good at one or two things instead. But she did really like it, and I wanted to tell you all that. And then Mr. Gay was at Old Trail today, and she really liked that. So I do really like that we are having some homegrown community members speak to our students. I think that's great. It was also kind of a shock to me when my daughter's her teacher has her write her homework and her highs and her lows, and her high today, I was really taken aback, but it was learning about September 11th. And it kind of like blew my mind. But, these kids weren't here for that. And the way she described it, it was very thoughtful and very age appropriate. And I really appreciated that. And similarly, in my son's class at Crossroads, they were talking about 9/11. And the Charlie Kirk came up in conversation. And the teacher, from how my son described it, she dealt with it in a very respectful and sensitive manner. And I think that is a prime example of how our teachers don't always have a script in the classroom, and we need to trust them to be the professionals that they are, that they will work through some challenging topics with empathy and kindness and sensitivity to students in communicating to them in an age appropriate manner. I actually really appreciated, before my son left for school yesterday or this morning, I said, please, if someone tries to show you a video, don't look at it. It's one of those things you cannot unsee. And that is one of the things that the teacher conveyed to these students. And I really do appreciate that, because if they had had that conversation without that warning, they might have gone out on their phones when they got on the bus or something and looked it up. So I really do appreciate that. And like I said, it was dealt with very respectfully, very sensitively, and I really do appreciate that teachers care in what is a crazy situation all around. So I just wanted to let you know those couple nice things. So thank you.
Thank you. Nate Lloyd. Okay. Sarah Miller. Welcome.
My name is Sarah Miller. I am a mom of 3 children. I'm also a nurse practitioner at a local community hospital. My husband and I serve on the Redland football board, baseball boards. We're very involved in our community. Friday, September 5th, however, my oldest son got off bus 60 at 3:30 p.m. And from Old Trail, his bus driver told me that to check Power School because she had changed the route to avoid some turnarounds. The schedule would be changing effective Monday, September 8th. I immediately went to check Power School, which showed his pickup time changing from 7:50 a.m., which it had been since being announced on August 12th for the first 2 weeks of school, to 7:15 a.m., which is a 35-minute time change. I quickly tried calling the administration building at 3:35, leaving 2 messages, sending several emails, including one to Mrs. Rupp, for which at this time of this meeting has still not been responded to, an email titled Urgent Transportation Concern. Unfortunately, I had to miss part of my shift Monday morning to accommodate for this time change and get my son on the bus. I then went to the administration building Monday morning. I arrived around 8:45 a.m. Around 9:20, a man came out of the elevator and asked me without any introduction, what is the problem? I explained to him the significant time change for pickup without any notice. He told me I would have to figure it out, and that's just what the bus schedule is. He told me several times that I was given notice over the weekend to make arrangements. He told me there are new kids that needed transportation, and this was the reason for the change. I quickly remembered the ignorant tone and recalled that I've also dealt with Mr. Sanders in July of 2022, when my children started school, as I had inquired about an adjustment for a safety concern of them crossing Nauvoo Road. He told me at that time that change would require adjustments and that would not be altered for turnarounds. He again, this time, offered no solution, not even to look at the bus route to see if any changes could be made. He felt that no notice is acceptable when parents have other children who require transportation or jobs that rely on them to provide notice, such as mine. While I'm saving people's lives, I am now having to worry about how I'm going to suddenly accommodate a schedule change to get my child to school, which I've already modified at the beginning of the school year. When I asked Mr. Sanders if he himself would be able to accommodate a work schedule change, such as showing up at 8 a.m. for tomorrow for work instead of 9, or if he worked weekends to allow for schedule changes, he told me the conversation was over and to exit the building, showing me the door. There was no concern, no compassion, and I was ignorantly dismissed. Frankly, he was condescending and rude, as I was simply coming to him after exhausting all other options for a solution to a problem caused by his team, without any concern for the effect it has on tax-paying community members. Mr. Sanders and the administration treat parents as second-class citizens. There is no question how much the township loves collecting taxes from my paycheck, but there is no support for working families. Instead, my tax dollars are going towards a group of people who are not only trying to fix the transportation issue, but making it worse for others. So maybe you're saying, what is the deal? It's a 35-minute bus change. Why is she here? I am here because I'm sick of the lack of parental support from administration. Clearly, our jobs don't matter and livelihood doesn't matter, nor does the effect it has on children. What about the single mother working 2 jobs whose schedule you just changed? How about the child that's now getting picked up 35 minutes later whose parents start work at 8 a.m.? Or were those emails and calls just not responded to either? Mr. Sanders showed up Monday for a paycheck and never once tried to assist a child in need of transportation, which is what he gets paid to do. So I'm asking you, who is responsible? Who is here to support our families? And who is the one causing the disruption to our families? Who is going to hold anyone responsible of decisions being made that affect our kids? If this were my profession, people would die and I would lose my license. If this were a private business, there would be a real accountability. There'd be a write-up, a letter for his employment file, and a corrective action plan for Mr. Sanders, who continues to treat parents with contempt, or Mrs. Rupp, who has yet to respond to my urgent email or the email I sent her August 20th at the direction of the assistant principal, as my child's address was incorrect up to and including the first day of school, resulting in him being over 30 minutes late coming home and terrified. The address still isn't changed, but fortunately, my 7-year-old is more reliable than some of our transportation department. I'm here to speak for the countless number of parents I've personally spoke to who have thrown in the towel, like you want them to do, and decided to provide their own transportation to paying for a service. I'm here on behalf of parents and taxpayers of the West Shore School District who are sick and tired of being kicked around by unqualified, uncountable, and weak employees of a fat and bloated educational industrial complex. Incompetence should not be the new standard. We demand accountability.
Thank you. Can we talk about this for a few minutes? Can we have Mrs. Rupp here moving forward for once a week or once a month, rather?
Yes, you made that request earlier this week, and I told you that she had a conflict tonight. She will be here next week.
Okay. Is this how you recall that interaction?
It is not entirely accurate, no.
So
I would,
But
I do
I'm happy
not-
to discuss in another forum.
I get it. I totally get it. But we're going to have a long conversation about this outside this meeting. With there being
So I think they shut off the meeting.
I think someone, yeah, I think someone, she didn't even gavel them out this time. I mean,
They
Kelly's always
just
quick.
closed it. And I bet you anything that mama came up to that desk, because I know how this works. I bet you anything that mama came up to that desk, to call them out for the liars that they are, and they cut the screen.
Yeah, that was something. And I didn't even get my full comment out to discuss it. They should have discussed it on the public record. Here, let me get this out of here.
Yes, but they don't want that on public record. You see, that's the whole thing. This is what happens behind the scene, guys. You see, I'm in these meetings, so I know what happens, in these meetings. She probably got ticked off because the taco breathing, fire eating dragon of Stokes said, well, that's not exactly how it happened. No, that's exactly how it happened. And this is why Mama Bear is there. And when it comes to Mr. Sanders, I don't know if you remember, Christy, if you can hear me, jump in. Mr. Sanders is rude. Okay. Mr. Sanders, me and Christy were in the meeting and she was reading some stuff on the screen for me to write. Okay. Some stats that I needed. So she was reading it to me. He winded up yelling at me and Christy, telling us to shut up. Okay. And Tierney co-signed with him. So yes, Mr. Sanders is rude, condescending, and super ineffective. Okay. If we remember I think it was a year ago, this whole bus route was assigned to Mr. Sanders. Okay, he did not do what the bus company tell him to do. They gave him the software, okay, for the bus routes. Okay, he did not use it as they instructed him to do. He used AI, okay, and the bus routes were a disaster. And I'm so surprised to hear Mr. Sanders' name come. Well, not really surprised, but to hear his name come up again, okay, because what she is saying is correct. He is rude. And I will add that he is ineffective.
I cannot believe, first of all, I want to say some things here. First of all, that dude here who had the one study about the transgenderism, go do a simple search. Go do a simple search and you can find all the information that's actually true about it. His one study is just skewed. It's not correct because there's several other studies that contradict everything he said. Brandy, if you want to hop in, you may also hop in. Anybody who's watching may hop in. If you want a link, send me a Facebook message. If you don't know, if you're not friends, leave a comment and I'll make sure I get you a link if you want to hop in. But we're only going to be doing this for a few minutes. Yeah, I think that conversation should have happened publicly. I think they should have just kept it going. And I want to say that I love that the administration is actually allowed to answer back finally. I like that they actually can do that. That's a great policy change for them to be able to allow the board to rebut some of what's being said. So it was really great.
It's a good policy change for the board, but the problem with that policy is this, that they want to allow administration, okay, and they want to allow the board members to rebuttal, okay. However, they do not want to allow the parents to reply to the rebuttal. So there was a lot of things that Sandra Gonzalez have said in the past that are absolutely 100% correct. Then when she sits down, they'll rebuttal.
Yeah, they're going to try and refute it.
Exactly. So this is where the parents have to say, take the policy, shove it where the sun don't shine. Okay. You're not going to tell me that I'm not going to be able to answer to, well, I'm going to call it to your lie. And I am sure this is why they cut that feed, because that mother was fired up. Okay. She might be Puerto Rican for I know. She was fired up. Okay. She went at them. She went at them like as she should. Okay. And the moment she came to reply back and to rebuttal and probably call him, what he is, a gaslighter, there goes the feed, because they want to silence the parent. And I want to have guys, that brain fart of that part of the policy was actually suggested by Brian Geiswhite, and that was in February, because he said in the meeting in February, okay, that the parents cannot have the last word.
Yeah.
But yet this is the Region 3 candidate, okay, that's going uncontested. Okay, Brian Geiswhite, the one that brought the smut into the school, and so did his wife. So he wants to further silence the parents.
Yeah. This is, I think they're going to get more parents coming up to the table as a result of this policy. I do like the policy, but trying to have the last word over the parents isn't the way it is. And if you get cut off at the board, please come on the Boiling Point podcast. I'll be happy to give you all the time in the world.
Correct.
Is there anything else you want to talk about the meeting specifically? The library policy gets postponed when? Until next week?
No, until October. Now,
No,
until
next month.
October. Now that has us really steaming, and I'm gonna tell you why. We voted this board in for this particular policy, the bathroom policy and the sports policy. Okay. They have worked and reworked. They've been working this policy for months. I read the policy. Okay. I went online last night because I couldn't really sleep after the Charlie Kirk, situation. So I went online and I read the policy that they were going to, supposed to have vote on today. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's fair.
Yeah.
It's transparent. So some of the things that I was hearing, okay, of the parents that were speaking, I don't think you were there when they were speaking, Jonathan. This is what the parents were saying, okay, to the board. And I am so sick of this. I am so sick of this. Let me get my glasses on. Okay, so our first speaker was saying that the policy seemed different from the last policy meeting. No, it was not. There were things that they took out. And if you look at the last notes of the last policy meeting, you'll see a line over it that indicated that they were going to remove that wording. Okay. And she's also stating that in changing the policy, she stated they were opening a can of worms, and don't open yourself up to lawsuits. Okay. So Terry Mickle and everybody that spoke are part of Terry Mickle's team have been constantly for weeks and for months now threatening the board, okay, with lawsuits. Okay. She also stated that free speech, okay, the best way to ensure free speech is to allow our children to choose their literature and trust the experts. We got to take that phrase, guys, trust the experts, and throw it out the window, because we, the parents, are the experts. The second speaker, okay, started with trust the experts, trust the teachers. We shouldn't be making decisions for our kids, okay, because we're focusing on the ideals of some. Okay, how you like that? The ideals of some, and it can affect the other children. And that if we take the smut out of the school, this is my favorite. If we take the smut out of the school, we are not allowing the children to think critically, and they're going to lose children to cyber school. And she further stated that if you do not want your child to have a public education, then don't put them in the public school. First and foremost, that's our tax dollars. So if you tell the people, okay, to take the kids elsewhere, the tax dollars are coming with us, because you want our money, okay, but you don't want to hear what we, the people, have to say, what is right for us to say, what our protections under the Constitution, because we are the parents. So how about this? Why don't you take your child and put your child in cyber school if you don't want the children to get a classical education? Or even better yet, read all the smut that you want in your house to your kids, okay, and leave our children alone. How about that? Okay. And I don't need my children to read pornography to be able to think critically. That's not thinking critically. And then, we had Terry Mickle again making comments, okay, that the public is not being included, saying that the teachers are not being included, and that she does not want a review process on curriculum and on books. Okay, so if they change or say something in the math curriculum, she doesn't feel that it should go through a policy to be reviewed, or something in science to be reviewed to make sure it's appropriate. Well, first of all, I don't think anybody's going to be really reviewing math. We're talking about the books in our school. We're talking about the sex education book. Yes, they need to be reviewed, because the administration of the West Shore School District have already proved over and over and over again that they cannot be trusted. But yet, this is a candidate in Region 2 saying that the parents don't have the right, okay, over the kids, that the parent has to adapt to changes, that the parents' opinions, okay, over their children does not matter. They have no opinion over their children. Really? And you're a candidate and she's promoting these books? I don't know, people. Region 2, that sounds like a groomer to me. That sounds like a groomer to me, because grooming means many a things. And this is the people that they're pushing to be the board member, the lady that they're pushing, Terry Mickle, to be the board member elected for Region 2. Are you kidding me? Because all she's going to do is reverse everything and bring the smut back in and have transgender bathroom, because that is what she wants, because she is part of the education industrial complex.
Yes. And she's running against Kelly.
Yes, she's running against Kelly. Okay.
So
And
we want to make sure everybody gets out and votes for Kelly.
she is for Terry Mickle is for transgender bathroom. Terry Mickle believed that men should be playing in women's sports. It doesn't matter to her if the boy is going to change his clothes in front of your daughter in the locker room. She's for keeping the smut and silencing the parent. And any parent that's a conservative, okay, and any parent that's a Christian, she has been taught to label as an extremist. And we have done previous videos in which we have shown the companies and organizations that are backing her up, teaching her. I put the manuals, I put the paperwork out there for you guys, teaching her, okay, how to speak in these board meetings, how to talk to these parents, how to treat these parents as extremists and fight against it, because at all costs they have to bring all this smut in, all this curriculum in. Why? Because of state funding. Because of state funding. So it's not about educating your child, okay? It's about selling your kids for state funding. And these are the things that she is fighting, like this book, The Girl from the Sea, that she is fighting to keep in our schools. Now, mind you, all these books that we have been showing these clips of, I have read, to the point that you guys can call Christy. Christy will tell you that many a times I have said I need to wash my eyes out with Clorox. Okay, this is how disgusting. Look at this. Teaching our children, okay, teaching our children how to perform sexual acts. And this is what Terry Mickle is fighting so hard to keep in our schools. Okay, here, if you see, okay, it's supposed to be teaching them about puberty. I don't have an issue with teaching them about puberty. We all had those classes when we were kids, but we never had books showing men having sex, women having sex, okay? Different couples having sex, how to masturbate. We never had that this graphically. And this is in our schools. This one is in Crossroads, I believe. Okay, I believe it's in Crossroads. And this is the smut that Terry Mickle is working to keep in our schools. Okay, Me, Irwin, the Dying Girl. This is the one that Christy read in June, in the board meeting in June. Okay, that everybody's jaw dropped. You couldn't hear, you were able to hear a pin drop in that room. But this is the smut that Terry Mickles wants to keep in our schools. And she's running for school board for Region 2, the Black Flamingo. That was disgusting also. Now, this book is written in essays, granted, okay? But when you read it, it is disgusting. It is disgusting. So she's saying, trust the experts. What experts? This is smut. And a lot of these things are violating PA criminal statutes here in Pennsylvania about the corruption of minors. Okay, and the administration, it's allowing it in our school because they are as guilty. They are committing crimes against our kids and corrupting their moral. But trust the administration, trust the experts, trust the librarian. Do not trust parents. You are the experts, and you need to come out to these meetings, and you need to use your voice. You need to use your emails. You need to use smoke signals. You need to rattle this cage because this cannot continue in the West Shore School District. But trust the experts, really? And guys, I'm telling you, if you vote for Terry Mickle for Region 2, you might think, okay, she's crazy, she's animated. No, let me tell you right now, you vote for Terry Mickle, okay, for Region 2, she is going to finish destroying the West Shore School District and destroying the progress of the West Shore School District and the progress that's in place now. Okay, she supports all LGBTQ agendas. She supports men and women's sports. She supports transgender bathrooms. She's against parental choice and parental rights. What's the difference between parental choice and parental rights? Parental choice is that you decide whether you want to have your child in the public school system, in a cyber school, or in a private school. Okay, and depending on the choice, those tax dollars will follow you. So it's taking out of the district to follow to give your child the education that they require and deserve, and they are your tax dollars, so it should follow your child. She is against parental rights, as we know. Now she is coming against Kelly Brandt, who's been fighting for parental rights. Okay. She supports protecting women's sports. She supports the Redland Project. She supports parental right and parental choice. She's working towards balancing the budget because we know that they inherited a mess from the previous school board. Okay. The veteran school boards. She's working towards repairing the natatorium. We all know that. She believes in protecting the voice of the parent, and she has faced cancel culture. And part of that cancel culture that tried to cancel her and her husband's business, Terry Mickle was involved. Okay, and this is the woman that they want to replace her? Are you people kidding me? It's time to wake up. Listen, let's talk for a minute about Charlie Kirk. Jonathan. It broke my heart to see what they did to him. Okay, and this is the message, okay, that I received when I saw that, because I sat there, I saw that, I my jaw dropped. Okay, and to leave me speechless, that takes a lot. Okay, so the left have been they tried the cancel culture on us. Okay, they'll try to silence us, they'll try to debate us, but now when all these efforts are failing because we will not be silenced, now they want to kill us.
Yeah.
One thing that we should learn about Charlie Kirk, okay, is not to walk in fear, number one, and that we cannot be silenced. And that applies to the West Shore School District. Parents, do not allow your fear of these wackos, because you think they're going to cancel you, they're going to go after your job, or they're going to surround your house like they surrounded mine at one time. Do not let the fear of these wackos stop you from doing what is right, what God has called you to do, and to protect your family.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about Charlie Kirk on Saturday. We're going to put a whole episode together. Mariana is going to be joining. We may have several other people. Pastor Gavin might join, and several other people from the Boiling Point podcast, and even maybe our sister show, Mayhem Media, will be joining us for that episode on Saturday afternoon or evening. I'm not sure yet. Before we get ready to close this out, though, as per the normal standard of operating procedure for the Boiling Point podcast, here is evidence of the bribery that Adam Trone is guilty of, or the attempted bribery. The attempted bribery that Adam Trone is guilty of. And if the evidence wasn't enough, here is his statement, basically admitting to it. So here is his admittance of the crime, and here is the actual crime.
And he is also one of the mentors of Terry Mickle. I don't know if you knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
He has taken her under her wing. He's corrupting her. Okay. As he is corrupted. Okay. He's infiltrating the toxin, the poison into her. And this is a person we cannot allow. We cannot allow her to take that seat in Region 2, parents.
Yep. Tomorrow we're going to release a Halloween episode between me and Casey. It was a very fun episode that we recorded, so we're going to be releasing that. And then we're going to have the Charlie Kirk episode on Saturday. Of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to Charlie Kirk, to Charlie Kirk's family and friends during this time. It was a terrible thing that happened. And like you said, it was they shot him in the neck. So it was clearly they wanted to silence him. More, if nothing else, they wanted to silence him. So, it was. And I can't even talk about it yet. That's why we're waiting till Saturday. So, because we're all still kind of, we want to make sure we cover the facts and talk about what actually happened and what this means, and not start, going off emotion and reaction. So, we're gonna wait and talk more about that on Saturday. Thank you for tuning in to our coverage. As you've seen, we've been monetized on Facebook now, so make sure you watch all of our content, share it out. It all helps us reach more people. And then, of course, we have stars now. If you want to send us stars, it's actually really easy to do. reach out to the page if anybody has any problems. If you want to know how to get stars to give away, then, please reach out. I'd be happy to show you. But if not, please make sure you at least like, comment, and of course, share. And until tomorrow, we got the episode. And then Saturday, Mariana and several others will be back with me to discuss what happened with the Charlie Kirk situation on just yesterday. So, in sticking with my new outro, this is not the end. This is just the beginning.